Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on when you are. So welcome to our webinar. We see more than 100 people joining this webinar, and we are really excited to have you all here. So this webinar is around business automation, and we are going to have a really good discussion with you all today. We are going to get into the details of like the journey that organizations are going through in their AI and automation journey. And of course, before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Melih. I'm leading IDC's AI and automation research across Middle East, Turkey, and Africa. And I'm sorry, I think there's a problem with the slide. I think it's okay now. Okay, so I'm leading IDC's AI research across Middle East, Turkey, and Africa. I'm based in Istanbul, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today. Of course, I'm not alone here. My colleague Amr Fuad from Nintex is here. He is the Director for Solution Engineering for the Middle East and Africa region. So we really have a deep content for you. And of course, first I'm going to provide you some insights, some IDC insights about the trends in the market, about the challenges in the market, about the drivers of the market, what sort of investments are happening in the market when it comes to business automation and AI-related initiatives. And of course, then my colleague Amar is going to take it over, and he's going to provide his own perspective in terms of how Nintex can take you forward in your business automation journey, in your business transformation journey. So, of course, it will not be a straightforward journey for anyone. And the discussion is really deep, and we cannot cover everything in 1 hour. So for doing that, for addressing that need, what we did is we prepared a detailed document for you all. We prepared an info brief document, and we want you to have it and share it with your colleagues right after this event. And you're going to have it in 2 ways. First, you are going to receive an email after this event with a PDF attachment, and you're going to have the info brief. You can share it with your colleagues. Of course, if you are here right now, or if you are watching the recording, you can just scan the QR code to download the info brief. And info brief is going to share more information than what I am about to present you now. So my presentation will be a sneak peek of the info brief actually, and you can build on top of it by using the info brief. There are more details, there are more insights in the info brief itself. So I hope you're going to like it. And of course, what I want to do is I want to make this session as interactive as possible with you. And we will have a number of poll questions throughout the event. And this is our first poll question. So we would like to benefit from our collective wisdom. So please respond to these poll questions, and we are going to share the results with you throughout the session. And the first poll question is about the technology areas that are most critical for your organization's business success. So please provide your perspective. Please provide the top 3 technology areas so that we can share it with you and see how you are driving your organization's journey for business transformation. So once you are done, we are going to move on with the slides. But of course, I would like to give you one more highlight, which is about, please, let's make this session as interactive as possible. At the bottom of the screen, there's a Q&A section. Please add your questions. You can edit whenever you want. You can edit now, you can edit later. And after my presentation and Amar's presentation, there will be a fireside chat. And of course, it will not be only 2 of us with Amar talking to each other, but we are also going to address your questions. So I hope this is going to be a good one for all of you. And with that, let me move forward. So what I want to start with is with an IDC prediction. But before talking about the prediction, I want to share this with you. Right now, the competitive pressure for all of us is so high, so intense, that we need to find a way to better react to market conditions. And in our region, when you look at the Middle East and Africa region, each country, each sub-region, they have their own trends, own unique challenges, their own unique opportunities. But there's one constant in this journey, which is replicating global best practices is not enough for anyone. Why is that? Because the pace of technology transformation is so fast that, while we are trying to replicate best practices, new best practices are just coming out. What does it mean? It's always good to learn from our peers, from the worldwide best practices, but I think as organizations, we need to find our own ways to create our own best practices. In other words, rather than only replicating best practices, we should create best practices as well, because this is what the current technology landscape requires so that we can keep up with the pace of change. And this is going to put an immense pressure on you, on IT leaders. And of course, it's also an opportunity for you because you are going to have a more elevated role and more elevated responsibilities within your organization. According to this prediction of IDC for 2026, one of every two IT leaders will rise to become business leaders, aligning people, operations, and business models with digital technologies. And think about the level of engagement with business teams, with the top management, with the mid-level business teams, and so on and so forth. This is a quite, the IT role is evolving into a quite sophisticated role. So the responsibility is big, the opportunity is big, and we must evolve, we must transform with the market shift as IT leaders to become orchestrators of business transformation, technology-enabled business transformation. So this is our first remark. And of course, let's see the poll results to our first question. If my colleagues can bring it in. So let's see what are the top items here. So when I just scan through, and I hope you are also seeing it, security, not surprisingly, is coming at the top. 62% of respondents said security is their top priority. And this is closely followed by AI and automation, which is 59% of our audience. Then I think the next one is with 43% back office applications. So, this is quite common in the region. Security is top of mind for everyone. Across the region, there's a kind of cloudification. It's mostly hybrid cloud in nature, on-prem, public cloud. They're all being used for different workloads, for different purposes. And security driven by regulations and the market dynamics is top of mind for everyone. And of course, AI and automation is, again, equally an important agenda item for everyone. So let's dig into what's happening in the market in that journey. So, and for doing that, we have all these great aspirations, but let's think about our organizations and if we are ready to embark on this journey, fully embark on this journey. And for that, I'm going to use an IDC survey. This IDC study is categorizing organizations across maturity levels, digital business maturity levels. And you see 4 categories here. The first one is leaders, the highest level of maturity. And then at the last, you see the laggards, which are the companies who are really lagging behind the curve, innovation curve. So, and the companies in between. So when we look at our study, what we see is like the leaders are 14% of our universe across the companies we conducted this study, and 19% are fast followers. When you look at the laggards, it's 28%, and we have the companies at a more like middle level kind of. And what's important for us is these leaders, the progressive companies, are going to move so fast, and the digital divergence for those more progressive companies and the laggards is going to broaden, and it's going to create a competitive disadvantage. It will be really, really hard for companies lagging behind to implement those emerging technologies, not only AI or automation, any sort of like technology, emerging technology capabilities will be hard to infuse into the organization. And to be clear, it's never like we are just going to implement automation or we are just going to implement AI. It's multiple technologies are being harmonized to address a specific business use case, right? So it's not an isolated emerging tech discussion also. But for the sake of our discussion, let's see that the trends in the business automation domain in the Middle East and Africa region. On the right, you see the adoption trends for business automation in the region, in our region. And 47%, the first line, 47% of organizations are using business automation across multiple business areas. This is important, and I'm going to come to that. The second one is 31% using it in a single business area. And then we have the companies, 12% piloting it, at 9% not using and not planning to use. So what does it mean for us? I mean, first of all, if you look at the first line and second line, close to 80% of organizations are already investing in business automation, which is great. Everyone is trying to capitalize on this opportunity, on this technology. That's great. But also, we need to keep in mind that like this 47% of organizations are using this in multiple business areas, whereas the 31% is using it in a single business area. It is a kind of challenge for me, because in order to benefit from business automation, really benefit from business automation, there should be a coordinated initiative, a set of coordinated initiatives within an organization across multiple business units. So it should be a collective effort across different multiple business units so that the organization can really benefit from business automation technologies. So it's important to transform into a more, like, from an isolated to a more coordinated approach to business automation. That's what's missing in some organizations right now. And there may be a valid reason for that. They may not have the right technology partner, or they may not be ready as an organization. So there may be multiple reasons for that. So let's move on and take a look at the priorities, technology, business automation investment priorities in our region. So this study is showing the investment plan, and there are three colors here, three color codes here. But if you look at the legends, the blue bars are showing the companies who are already using that specific business automation technology. The turquoise bars are showing the companies who are going to invest in this technology in the next 2 years. And the green bars are the companies who are not going to invest at all. And if you look at this, if you scan through these different technologies, look at document automation. 77% of organizations are already using this, which is not surprising, because everyone, I mean, either driven by government initiatives or either to learn and benefit from this technology as quick as possible. Many organizations started with document automation, which is understandable. And now we see other technology areas under the business automation umbrella are being explored as well. So in the next 2 years, you can see, like, for example, workflow automation, which is being discussed a lot right now, which is a high priority item for many organizations to connect different systems, tools, and applications. This is an important item. Or look at decision management. Now, organizations want to use business automation for more strategic reasons, which is great. And of course, AI. Look at the conversational AI piece. 47% of organizations are planning to invest in conversational AI. And AI is an integral part of all discussions right now we are having today. So there's a clear traction and there's a clear shift from tactical to strategic business automation across many organizations. So this shows that there's good level of awareness across many organizations. And I mentioned the info brief, right? And the info brief is going to show you this information and provide more layers of information on top of this. But basically, the info brief touches upon like 6 points: the data excellence, importance of next generation business automation platforms, focusing on technology outcomes, measuring the business impact, capitalizing on the agentic AI opportunity, aligning AI and automation capabilities with human skills, and of course, democratization of this technology. These 6 items. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to scan through these 6 items. And, I'm going to give you a sneak peek of the information we featured in the info brief document. But before that, I want to bring this poll question for your attention. And this is, we are asking the top 3 challenges here. If you can provide your perspective, after I cover these 6 points, we are going to bring the challenges and we are going to see what sort of challenges you are facing. And when we talk to different types of organizations, we see that the challenges you see on the screen are all relevant. All are really relevant, and it seems like they're going to remain relevant for some time. So my whatever the challenge you are facing is, I think it's important to think about the fact that we cannot wait for being fully ready for embarking on business automation journey. We should know our challenges. We should work with our partners and address those challenges on the way while moving forward with our business automation journey. So let's move on to the next slide with point 1. So which is focusing on data excellence. I'm going to scan through quickly. I don't want to. I want to respect the time. But when it comes to data integrity, quality, data security, data availability, these are coming as the top challenges when it comes to driving AI and automation strategies. And this is not surprising. Data is a fundamental issue for many organizations, and especially with the infusion of AI. It's not about having good quality data. It's about having an excellent data architecture or close to perfection. The reason is that it's not possible to capitalize on agentic AI and many other complex, sophisticated use cases. We need really good quality data. Of course, again, we don't need to wait for full readiness. We need to evolve our data architecture continuously. In the meantime, we should prioritize our automation and AI use cases based on our existing capabilities, and we should create a roadmap accordingly. And of course, another aspirational goal for many organizations is about creating, data as a product. What does it mean? It means that business teams or business data or purpose-built data should be available for consumption as quick as possible so that we can gain in time to market advantage and we can drive innovation much faster. So again, we are going to provide more information in the info brief. The second point is about next generation business automation platforms. So what does it mean? Life cycle complexity is a big problem for many organizations. When I say life cycle complexity, I'm talking about, developing or implementing a business automation solution across different business functions and managing these multiple solutions, multiple initiatives in a coordinated manner. So right now, 10% of organizations has reached the point that they are no longer going to invest in automation because of this life cycle complexity. And when you think about it, it's a big problem for this 10% of organizations. So whatever the reason is, again, there should be a way to address this challenge. And my colleague Amar, I'm sure he's going to share some insights about that. And of course, to make it more clear for you, next generation business automation platforms can be simply represented by using this slide. So there are 3 pillars, automation planning, execution, and closed loop measurement. For example, the planning means analyzing and documenting mining data or identifying process inefficiencies as quick as possible, or the execution piece where we use different functionalities of this platform to automate tasks and processes, managing the life cycle, and of course, closed loop measurement, which is like measuring the improvements and of course, linking performance to business outcomes. If we don't measure, we cannot justify investments, right? As simple as that. And of course, at the foundational layer, you see the observability capabilities, which is important to make sure that our data infrastructure is up and running all the time and performing as we expect it to be. Of course, the continuous monitoring capabilities should also be an integral part of this platform. And then, of course, again, very shortly, I want to highlight that 71% of IT and business leaders around the world are trying to tie their automation to business automation, tie their automation initiatives with business value creation, because again, this is a very painful process for many of them. If they can't justify, if they cannot justify their investments, they cannot proceed in this journey. And in our info brief document, we are going to share some a framework with you, which you can just study and start thinking about how you can bring a systematic approach to your organization to measure the impact of these initiatives in a coordinated manner. And the next one is about AI. Everyone is talking about AI, but over the last 2-3 years, we have been talking more intensely, right? And one major challenge is that, especially the business teams, the management top, even coming from the board of directors and the C levels, there are some unrealistic expectations just coming down to IT teams. And for example, someone in the board of directors is hearing something from another peer group, and they're just saying that, look, what is our peer doing? Why are we so slow? Why aren't we going faster? So maybe that use case is just, or that announcement or whatever being discussed is a hype, and that's quite common in the market right now. So we really have to put realistic goals. And when we look at the transformation of the journey, like with generative AI, we started talking about co-pilots and assistants, which was more about interaction than the autonomous AI agents. This came to our life, and today we are mostly exploring or implementing single agent workflows. And then the next step is going to be AI agent fleets, where we are going to use multiple agents to drive an entire business process or operation, like customer service management. So this is a major transformation. It's a very hard one. And it really requires an organization to be fully ready to come to an AI agent fleet level. And of course, a human's role is going to evolve in this journey. Humans are in the loop right now, but it's going to transform into a human on the loop kind of process. And I want to just feature. I covered this as a separate item within our discussion here with this slide. So aligning AI automation with human skills. Why is this important? This is quite fundamental, right? Just look at the journey here. First, we were talking about AI assistants, right? The skills required from our employees was about interaction, asking the right question, applying the right data, taking the right action, right? I mean, human is taking a bigger role here. But when you move on to the second stage here, which is the part in the middle, I mean, with the advisors, AI advisors, employee skills that are needed are, it requires more critical thinking, more reasoning capabilities, so that they can make informed decisions for strategic initiatives. So in the second layer, we are talking about a more elevated role for employees. But in the third part, in the third pillar, when the agents come in, there's a whole new level of disruption, because it's not like, because agent is triggering the action. I mean, understanding the question, taking the right action, initiating the process, sometimes completing the process itself totally without any human interruption. So what does it mean for our employees? It means our employees should be elevated to the next level, and they should be thinking about the overall business process and how it should be evolving, how it should be redefined. So more innovation-centric role needs to be taken by our employees. And this is a very hard transformational journey. And if we don't prepare our operating model, our organizational structure, our employees in terms of what is their role today and how it's going to be in the next 2 or 3 years, how it's going to evolve, are we going to need that role or aren't we going to need that role? So right now in the region, what we see is organizations are quite aware of these challenges, and they are not trying to eliminate their people, but they are trying to grow their businesses in a way that they are going to use these technologies more smartly, and they are going to prove the benefits, like improved revenue, better profitability, and they are going to use the team to grow this business further with the help of the technology. That's the current journey. And of course, the last point, the sixth point, if we move on, is about the democratization of business automation. So, this is, again, like it's a very hard journey, because there are multiple requests coming from business teams the agenda of businesses is evolving like quite frequently. So an IT team can extend or stretch to a limit, right? IT teams need some support, and enabling business teams to contribute to business automation initiatives can be a solution. Until now, in our study, only 11% of organizations are right now using non-specialist or citizen developers in their business automation solutioning initiatives. So, and this is quite understandable, because you need to train your people, you need to bring in a process, governance approach. We should bring in some sort of like, monitoring capabilities in terms of like, are we implementing the right business automation solution? Is it performing well as expected? Is it delivering the right value? So if we cannot bring in such a rigor into the process itself, I mean, it's better to wait for now. But when the organization is ready, it's important to empower these business people who can work as an extended part of the IT team to contribute to the innovation journey, of course, in a coordinated manner. Otherwise, if it's not coordinated, it can lead to a shadow IT function. For the technology vendors, the responsibility is to talk to both business and IT together in an aligned manner. Isolating IT and directly going to the business teams is not something favored by the IT teams, and we don't believe that it's the right way. There should be a coordinated approach. So these are the six items that we are deep diving in the info brief. So I hope you're going to enjoy it. And of course, our second poll question, which was about challenges. So if my colleagues can bring in the results, let's see what your biggest challenges are. Okay, here they are. So organizational silos and lack of cross-functional collaboration, and followed by lacking workforce capabilities and resistance to change. I mean, there's a lot of people related challenges that are coming out. I mean, the way I read this is organizational silos to the collaboration problem. I mean, then how can you democratize, business automation, for example, or drive co-innovation by bringing in different business units and functions? This is a hard one. And workforce capabilities, how are you going to enable them to ride the wave of AI, agentic AI, or benefit from business automation technologies, or resistance to change? When you bring in a new technology, I mean, how are you going to ensure that it's being leveraged across your organization? So this is really a hard one. So, I'm going to leave you with this, findings, and you can understand that like many of your colleagues or peers are facing similar challenges. But again, we have Amar here, who is going to provide us more insights about how they are helping their clients to tackle such challenges. So my final remarks, I'm going to be very quick here. I mean, the first thing is unified platform net approach, which we discussed for seamless integration and orchestration of business automation initiatives is needed. Otherwise, if we end up with tens of different automation tools, it's really become hard to govern, right? By the way, different systems and tools, automation tools, can coexist with a centralized platform as long as they can be integrated, right? So, but the centralized approach is needed there to orchestrate all different efforts. The second one is data as a product. We need to have good quality data. Otherwise, we cannot scale our initiatives. They will be limited. And productizing data is going to drive agile innovation. The third one is AI infusion based on realistic goals, realistic targets. So business teams are going to expect more and more every day. They are going to see the press releases, and they're going to have small talks, chats with their peers, and so on and so forth. So they will bring some use cases or some ideas, and you will need to tackle that and set the expectation right based on your organizational readiness and the maturity of the technology. The fourth item is business impact. We have to measure so that we can justify the investments. And the fifth one, which I didn't talk about at all today for the sake of time, is an ecosystem-led value delivery. Why is this important? Because this is not a journey that you can embark on alone. You need to have the right technology partner, and this technology partner should bring in the other relevant parties as and when needed. So you should have the right people, right companies along with you to drive value. So with that, I'm gonna bring in a final poll question and hand it over to my colleague Amar. And this question is about your expectations from a technology vendor partner for business automation. So what are the top 3 criteria your organization uses when selecting a technology vendor for business automation? So let's see what you expect from your partners. And in most of the cases, I mean, more than half of these, items are really demanded strongly by companies. But let's see which ones are top of mind for you. So with that, let me move on to the next section of this event, and I will hand it over to Amar, my colleague from Nintex. Amar, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Malih. I think, look, the first part of webinar, Malih has focused on, I think, explaining more and delving into the info brief, which has a lot of insight about the trends in the in basically in the region, how you can actually basically try to map your organization when it comes to the maturity itself, what is the challenges, all of these things. In the next odd 20 to 25 minutes, I'll try to focus on maybe a mix of a perspective, my own personal perspective and Nintex perspective, based on working with hundreds of customers in the last 4 years across 120 countries. And I'll just move forward and let's see. The question, which is, what do you expect from a vendor like us? There was multiple choices there. I think maybe in your minds and maybe some other things as well. But if you scroll down, I think number one is ability to work with different data sources, which is again back to what Malih mentioned around breaking down the silos. Many organizations have a lot of commercial of the shelf ERP, CRM, which was the top two choices if the of the priorities that you guys have. So you'll have 2 to 3 different data sources. So you need to come and bring and harvest all this data to actually make sure that your automation decisions and the workflows is being implemented properly. And if you look at the number two here is, I think, is the local post-implementation support, which is really, really important because the automation journey is not about executing your project and just shake your hands and leave. It is a continuous, ongoing investment. When you invest in a technology vendor, it is like a partnership between our customers and us. And having the local resources that understand the region, they are boots on the ground, they can actually go and visit you and provide an excellent support after acquiring or the vendor acquisition is really, really important as well. I think these two, I think top two items resonates. And I think also the platform integration, it's actually aligning with the data as well, which is not only about harvesting the data from multiple sources, also allowing the platform, allowing you to trigger actions across multiple systems as well. So I think this is aligns with our expectation. I will come to that when we talk about the later in the presentation around the case studies and what we see from our customers. So moving on. So the section or the title of the section, I had spent a lot of time thinking about what the title should be, and I decided to go with a little bit of an old coin term, which is intelligent automation. Intelligent automation is a term has been coined, I think, in 2017, and it was basically the traditional automation, but you start infusing a little bit of emerging technologies, how you can actually include that. And in the beginning, we had like the intelligent document processing, we have computer vision with the RPA to be able to go and execute mundane tasks, for example. But now, when you think about what is the future will look like, we are in a situation that Malih mentioned is there is a lot of emerging technologies, and every day you hear something new and you try to absorb all of these changes and try to apply it to your landscape, your organization, and you don't know where you should start. And this is really important because when we looked at the different maturities, where's the leaders and the laggards and all of these things, what you need to apply is, it depends on two things is, first of all, what is the construct of skill set that you have internally? So are these tools are accessible? And this is back to the point of the democratization of these tools. That's very important. And the other thing is even the evolving and the innovation of the technology itself. These two parts, accessibility of the tools and how let's say, evolving the tool is and applying it to you is the two things that allow you to judge the future of this from your perspective itself. So when we look at the future, how it will look like, we need to first look at the how you are going to use the tools itself. The first part is to define automation. As Malih mentioned at the end of the day is you need to have a trigger, something that triggers your automation journey itself. Whether this is a external trigger or an internal trigger, it could be a legislation, It could be a national program that basically makes you change the way that you work. And when this trigger happens, whether it's external or internal, you need first a way to assess and discover what this will impact on your business. Will it how much it will impact your business itself. So there's a little bit of discovery you need to worry about. And the way that people used to do this traditionally, as in we'll talk about the traditional approach, is to try to assess, bringing business analysts, maybe UX researchers, and do assessment, technology assessment of all the system that you have and find out how this will change the landscape and then apply the changes. And then once you apply the changes, then you measure the basically the update by running the system, the new system, and the operation of the new system, gathering the data and reports, and maybe gathering our ROI. And then at the end of the day, as I mentioned, it never ends because there is always going to be a constant need for change. So whether, again, as I mentioned, it's internal or external, this cycle is going to be repeated over and over and over again. So this is, like, I would say, is a very abstract definition of automation lifecycle. You might have a different approach, a different definition. Again, depends on your maturity level, but this is a very abstract way to define automation. And I will talk now about the approach, which is, when you think about the approach itself, it all depends on how accessible the technology is. Looking at a traditional approach, I call it like the iceberg approach, which is, this is from the perspective of the business user. How we involve business users, usually in requirement gathering, system testing, actual usage of the system itself, so they see just the tip of the iceberg. But as you go down, if you're doing, I think, a better job, you could actually involve business user into training, change management. You send basically newsletters, updates. You try to engage them as much as you can. You have a proper change management framework. But as you go down, the exposure to the business is becoming very limited. And this is maybe because you're using a commercial off-the-shelf complex ERP system that you need a consultant that has a very specific focus, and not everybody will understand that. So again, the accessibility of the technology, or as Manih mentioned, democratization of the technology, dictates who can actually do what at the end of the day. And as you go down to the last bit, is you'll have the system admins, the infrastructure, the people who run the platform itself, whether it is post-production or even during the project lifecycle itself. You can see there might be a product owner, somebody who can dictate, who can actually what feature should be implemented, how we can do this and that. There might be a training, which is most of the time could be a classroom training at the end. And the studies shows that only 10% of information is retained when you do the lectures versus learning by practice, for example. So at the end of the day, implementing, again, AI, emerging technology, it's not the goal. The goal is why we are implementing the technology, the need for change. Is it a cost-cutting exercise, a cost optimization, operation optimization, responding to legislation? This is basically the goal. But having a very, let's say, next age or next generation technology is not a goal of its own. Maybe if you are experimenting, maybe if you are at the top end of the maturity and you have pockets to experiment and do something, maybe this is something that you could do. But most of the organizations don't have the luxury of the deep pockets to do that. So technology has to be put in a context that drive outcome at the end of the day. So looking at a modern approach, and this is basically based on one single change, which is allowing the technology to be more accessible to business users, whether it's through low code, democratization, whatever you want to call it. I just want to abstract these things I'm talking about. People can actually run tools on their own to understand their existing processes. You talk about task mining, process mining, which was two of the capabilities that Maria had mentioned before, but this is ways to interpret the data, gather the data, and in a fraction of time, you can look at things and say, yes, the bottleneck is here. This is where I need to change my process. And then will be a nice, I think, segue and a nice input to the second stage. So having different tools to help you throughout the process is it's okay, but it has to be integrated. And having a single platform that can actually navigate between all of these things is the ultimate goal. Of course, we're not going to cancel out the researcher, the business analyst, because you need somebody to look at the tool output, because the data is there. They need somebody to interpret the data. So this is using the people to their time, to the best of their abilities as well. And at the end of the day, even if you have, let's say, in the idle state, which is an end-to-end automation platform, you will need people to run and operate the platform. You will need the technologists to help business users as well. And this is something that when I talk to customers day in, day out, no matter how many features that we have, for example, in our platform as Nintex, we might meet 100% of your requirement today, but you might have a requirement that we don't meet. So there is I think, a fundamental capability of a platform that you can actually add to having an extensible platform. You can add more features to it as you can go. And this is where the technologists, whether they are working for our customers directly or from our partner ecosystem, they play a fundamental role to make sure that the platform remain relevant as we go. So looking at, again, the slide that Hamidi has, I actually don't want to look at the leaders and fast followers here. I'm looking at the late adopters, which is 39% of the customers that IDC has surveyed. Using these emerging tools, and if it's used properly, this might allow these late adopters and maybe the laggers to actually leap frog and actually overtake fast followers and leaders. Because now emerging technologies in the past, and we'll talk about this in a bit, used to be very expensive. Now, I don't want to say LLMs and AI becomes a commodity. It's not yet a commodity, but becomes cheaper even to experiment on. So before, you needed a data scientist, you need maybe somebody with an R and Python, a very specific people who understand AI algorithm to do all of these things. Maybe you need expensive platforms, but now there is a lot of platforms that you can actually talk to using prompts, and you can actually experiment in a small capacity, but you can do that as well. Of course, there is a lot of housekeeping and homework that you need to do in the beginning, but there is an opportunity here for late adopters and laggers to use this emerging technologies to jumpstart their automation journey. So again, uh, as Marif mentioned, it's like everybody's talking about AI. I think maybe all of us is using the AI in some shape or form. And as I mentioned, in the past, you need to have a data scientist, somebody to understand algorithm to use AI. Now, why we're all using AI? Because the accessibility of the tool itself. First of all, we have a lot of chat-based AI application that can help us, and it's almost free or with very less cost. We're using it on a personal day-to-day activities. So that's the thing. It becomes accessible, and it becomes accessible because of the advances and innovation of the technology itself. It makes it cheaper to execute as well. So with the AI has to come to our life, personal life, it changed a lot in our personal life because we adapt to it like that. But when it comes to the business, looking at the AI, there is a lot of, I would say, reservations, how we can use it, because there is multiple ways. But I think we can all agree that AI is going to reshape everything, not just automation. It's going to reshape everything that we do. AI become now infused in every, I think, single commercial off the shelf ERP, CRM. It's already there. We cannot shy away from it. So when we look at the AI in the automation and business automation specifically, and again, I will take a very high level abstract view on things. When you look at low code business automation platforms, now, instead of dragging and drop, let's say, a workflow elements to define a process, now you can actually use the text, English, or any other language to generate a low code workflow. And you can keep talking to update as well, to the point of maybe if you just go and click on an action in a workflow and just do another click and update the action, people become even more lazy and continue talking and chatting to their AI assistant to help building these things. We talked, I think there is decision engines, business rule engines as part of the workflow or business process automation progress. Now it's reasoning. So the AI can actually do reasoning and it can choose a path. So the path becomes from deterministic to somehow undeterministic, depends on the reasoning engine itself. And I think the most important thing is, in the past, we had multiple systems that actually do system-to-system integration, which is integration platform as a service. We have a system that focus on people, human-to-human delegation, human-to-system. And now we're introducing another persona to the mix, which is the agents. How we can introduce agents, bring agents into the conversation, how we can actually hand off from agent A to agent B, how we can bring it back to the human if something really odd happens. So that's how, in a very high level, AI would shape automation as we go. So the main question that we get from our customers is, okay, there's a lot of changes happening. I have this investment in whether Nintex platform and other platforms. How can I start my journey? So the first thing, first advice we give to the customer is you follow the same process. So we talked about the automation life cycle. You only start this cycle or this journey when you need to do something. So that's the thing. So you follow things. The tool you're going to use across the journey itself is going to be different. Maybe you start using computer vision based task mining to understand the process itself by capturing the process. Maybe you start doing basically using AI to generate the workflows instead of having developers or citizen developers to build something. But the fundamental thing is the journey outlines is going to be the same, maybe different people because now technology make it more accessible, and different technology blocks. And the other thing is you should avoid the hype. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this. This is the hype cycle, which is like if I go and list all of these things, and I've done this slide I think 2 weeks back, and I 100% sure that this whole thing has been changing because of the fast pace that we are in now. So there is a lot of, I think, organization high maturity maybe have time to experiment. They can use or start experimenting with stuff that's before the plateau of productivity. That means it's not yet proven, it's still POC stage, but because they are having high maturity and high, basically, maybe skilled employees internally, they have maybe departments that focus on AI, they can use this. But for the lower maturity organization, they start looking at stuff because it's past the slope of enlightenment and becoming now part of the plateau of productivity. Means it has been proven. There's a lot of POCs. Basically the technology itself have reached a steady state that we can actually start using as we go. So avoiding the hype unless you have the luxury to experiment. This is the second advice. And there is other consideration as well, because there is one of the things that we always have in the conversation with the customer is there is a lot of consideration about when it comes to AI. One of them is like which model, which vendor. There's a lot of vendors there. And you don't want to go and use a platform that pigeonhole you or basically make you use only one vendor. It has to be a platform that is open. You guys have answered the question. You need a platform that integrate with multiple data sources and multiple systems. So you need that as well. Cloud versus on-prem, or maybe a hybrid, is another thing. The other important thing when it comes to AI specifically is how can I calculate the return? Because there is a need for change if it's an operational efficiency. How can I measure that? Because governance and AI, it is a bit challenges when it comes to governance and AI. And most important thing, you have invested a lot in an existing automation and business processes. How can I just incorporate it as a step one? What can I do in step one to incorporate the AI into my journey? Either by like reviewing what I'm having and where's the areas of improvement, or how can I do that? And there's other additional things, which is when you think about the AI agent itself, it's like an employee that doesn't have a laptop or tools, or have a laptop that doesn't have any tools installed in it. So tools that's required by the agents, which is going back to the another type of integration with the model context protocol itself, which is something that the agent will need to access and execute tasks. So if you have thoughts about agent to do something, you need to give them access to these things. Efficiency and performance as well, how we can measure this, which leads back to a governance, a full-fledged governance platform that governs not only the AI agents, your also automation platform itself. It's so one platform that you can actually govern everything and measure everything. And most importantly, again, there is a lot of orchestration platforms that out there that does the agentic only. So you don't want to be at the point that you have an integration platform that connects system to system, and another platform that focuses on human interaction, and a third platform that does the agentic, and then you try to stitch them all together by a fourth platform. So you need a platform that can actually easily connect all of these different personas, because eventually you will have the agents as a different persona in your business. And the most important thing, which is when we talk to especially high maturity organization, the question that we ask is, do you have a responsible AI, a code of conduct when it comes to AI. So this is something that might be required as you go. So when you gather all of these things, if we try to classify automation now, it could be one of these three things. Traditional automation, which is very structured, rule-based. I think everybody has basically have exposure to that. It's very deterministic. When it comes to adaptability, it's very low adaptability because it's very deterministic already, but it's very high resilience to error. And it has a lot of mature use cases been used for what, 25 years or more than that, depends on the tools that you're using. And it's adhered to compliance. It has a strong compliance component. When you move on with the infused, which is the AI based, it's somehow unstructured. It has a medium adaptability. When you use LLMs within a workflow, you might have hallucination as well. You need to track this and make sure that you course correct. And most importantly, it's in the pilot stages. So it's in production, but in a very small capacity, as we can see. Talking about the futuristic thing, it's agentic, it's goal-directed, means you give the agent a goal, and the agent, based on the tools that they have, they can go and execute the tool. It's very high adaptability. It can actually self-correct. It can hand off to different agents as well. But this is still in a PUC stage, and it's very weak or hard to audit at the moment. But we're expecting the governance and the auditing capabilities of this agentic platform to increase as we go. So when we look at all these three use cases, there is have one common component, which is a powerful orchestration engine. Just one unified platform that can help orchestrate all of these things. And this is the bit that I will mention Nintex. I'll try to stay away from the vendor a little bit. And Nintex is a platform that sits in between. And it allows you to use all of these things, all of these capabilities to go through the whole life cycle of automation, from identification to orchestration and building different experiences as well. Whether the experience is just mobile application, web application, AI-guided assistance as well, all of these things are in the platform. And Nintex platform is low-code even before that was coined as a term, because it allows everybody within the organization to go and tap into this, regardless of where you are in the cycle of automation itself. And as you guys can see, it actually have a built-in connectors to all of these systems that you can see on the slide. So ability to connect different data, different platforms, orchestrate across all of this is something that we offer. When you look at Nintex in another perspective as well, where we're not just allowing customers to start building, let's say, business solutions, it's also allowing them to build platforms and templates and stuff that can be reusable as well. And not only our customers, our partners as well. So we allow partners to start building solutions that connect all of these data sources across multiple experiences using AI, whether we have AI at design time, which is allow you to build workflows, experiences by using just prompt, moving on to AI when you execute itself in the reasoning engine, and AI when it comes to monitoring and making sure where is the bottlenecks and optimizing your business processes. Because as I mentioned before, it doesn't stop at the implementation. It's a continuous cycle. And I'll basically, I know I'm very cautious of time. I'll end with this slide. This is again the investment plans, and here I didn't want to hash everything. This is the stuff that we provide as core capabilities within Nintex. All the other stuff can be basically delivered using secondary capabilities, but this is the stuff that's out of the box, the stuff that is core capabilities in our Nintex platform. And as you guys can see, it covers the life cycle of the automation from task mining, understanding the processes itself, building the processes, and monitoring on the processes. I will skip through because I think I don't have enough time, but I will just put this slide out there. There's a QR code you can scan. There's a lot of case studies. This is from our customers. Again, all the stuff that I would say it's not as good as our customers' outcome. So you guys can scan the QR code, look at the case studies. If it's something relevant, please reach out and we'll have a discussion or a conversation afterwards. So Thank you very much, and I will leave it to the maybe Melih to join me, and we start an open discussion.
Amar, thank you very much for this insightful discussion. So what I want to do now is we can move on with the fireside chat part. But what I want to do is I would like to encourage everyone to ask their questions. You can use the Q&A chat section of the screen, which is at the bottom layer of your screen. So please add your questions there. In the meantime, Amar, I'm going to start by asking some questions.
Yeah,
So
please.
I think it was a very insightful session from your end, and I feel that like you have a really good level of expertise. You came across with different type of organizations across the region. So my first question is about this. In your experience within the Middle East and Africa region, what are the primary business and operational challenges in scaling automation, and how do these challenges compare across different Middle East and Africa markets?
Yeah. So look, I think the main challenges is when you have business department that comes you with a problem and you want to solve, with no buy-in from maybe IT to build a centralized solution. So you end up with one perspective, one problem that you're trying to solve, and you end up by navigating that you find out that this organization has multiple tools that's out there that might help solve the solution and nobody's aware of. That's the first, I think, challenge is having multiple tools in there that doesn't maybe necessarily meet or solve the problem for this business department, but it might tick the box. So that's a challenge to convince the basically the department to go, I would say, in a wider initiative. So when it comes to a wider initiative, it becomes easier all the time. But when we have a single department coming to us asking for help, it becomes always harder because there is no buy-in from IT. That's one thing. The second thing is, I would say, is when it comes to people coming and saying we have a citizen developer initiative, for example, but without having the governance rules in place. So and what is basically what does success look like a criteria for success. So that's also a very I think common challenge when it comes to organizations is they just want to maybe do something without realizing what it could be the success criteria at the end of the day.
And you know, an important part of this discussion is about the readiness of the organization to embark on this journey, right? And this can be my next question. And there are some questions in the chat. Then I will come to those questions. So thank you for the questions that are coming out. We are going to come into those questions in a second. But Amr, can you tell us like what are the indicators that signal that an organization is ready to begin its automation journey? And how can companies best assess their automation maturity?
So the first part of the question, which is what is the signals, what's the drivers for the automation journey? In the region, I would say majority of things are based on external triggers. So when you look at this region, you'll find a lot of national programs out there. You'll find a lot of new legislations out there. You'll find a lot of, I think, expectation from customers. So this could be also an external because the customers expect organization to have specific tools and capabilities as well. So that basically the majority of the triggers is external triggers. So whether you adhere to a new legislation, you need to meet specific requirements, or you have an expectation from the customer. And this is really important because I think it's measurable. It's either something that you have to do or something that you need to do for your customers. So that's I think the majority of the triggers. There's a lot of other stuff around modernization of the application itself. Like if some people are running old legacy applications and they would love to modernize, because again, having legacy applications open the door for some security challenges, which is in the polls. I think everybody put security is number one. So that's, I think, the two main drivers when it comes to the automation triggers. The second part of your question, sorry,
How can companies best assess their readiness or
Okay.
automation maturity?
Okay. So automation maturity is I think it's a very complex thing, and we had maybe in Nintex in the last 4 years, maybe three different frameworks that we used to do that. But one of the things is the first thing is the is it a wide initiative or not? That's one thing. So when you use automation, are you using it in a specific department? That's one thing. The second thing is, do you have a platform that does that? Is it a common across? Because when you think about the automation itself, when you deliver automation, you have three different high-level options. Whether you build it, like build the automation capability using custom code, or generate the code using vibe coding now, AI can do that, or you use commercial off-the-shelf CRMs, ERPs, and every CRM and ERP have their own automation component built in, or you use a mature automation platform. So depends on how we use. If you have an automation platform, you have an automation team, you have a practice, you have a process excellence team, then the maturity level increases a little bit. So it depends on the tools that you acquire, maybe the people and the skill set that you have as well. That's two things. How you use automation is a third thing. And again, the types of automation, because we talked about system to human, AI infused, and agentic. That's also tells you how you use the emerging technologies. So if you use a lot of emerging technologies, that means you are on the top when it comes to the maturity level itself.
Perfect, perfect. And I want to look at the questions that are coming in, and one of them is about like security. The first one is like, is AI secure enough now to put our business processes on it and rely on its results? So, what's your view on that?
Look, the governance of AI is on the rise. That's one. Okay. The second thing is it's how depends on what AI we're talking about. So if we're talking about the Melih, I can't see. Is it?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So it depends again on what AI you're using. So if you used what I call the legacy AI, which is like sentiment analysis, stuff like that, it depends. There's a lot of AI vendors on-prem or cloud, and then you send something and you receive a score. So it's a very limited scope. You don't give access to AI to a lot of things. Maybe the context of your question to AI. Similarly to when you give also a prompt to an LLM model to generate something. So again, if it's on-prem, it might be more secure. It depends on the vendor itself. So the vendor gives you the security assurance when it comes to the AI and what you decide to share with it. It becomes more complex when you talk about the agentic AI itself, because you might give the agentic AI access, which is the tools to do stuff in your system. And this is where it has to be very, very, I think, not very controlled, very tested and controlled. And we are yet to explore what's going to happen if there is people going to exploit that or not, because it's not let's say rolled out in a mass adoption that allow us to see. So we will discover that as we go. But the first two types of AI, whether it's infused, old legacy AI, LLM models, I think it can be controlled. You can have AI on-prem using an open source LLM model. You can actually build your LLM model if you have the pockets for that, and you can airtight it, make it super secure.
Perfect. So as long as it's controlled, it's in a controlled environment, and the model itself the outcome of the models can be controlled. I think it's okay to start with this, AI use cases, but at the same time, we shouldn't rush through to aiming for like implementing the most, sophisticated agentic AI use case per se. Maybe we should slow down in certain things, and we can accelerate some other things in the context of AI.
I think the question would be based on the maturity of the organization itself. There's the organization can accelerate and can go and look at the cutting edge, basically part of the spectrum versus basically other organization that will need to take basically baby steps when it comes to the AI journey.
Perfect. Let me move on to the next question. The question says, are there any Oracle implementations, Fusion and retail, done by the team in the region? Probably the question means that, have you implemented your platform in an environment where Oracle Fusion for retail is in retail being leveraged?
So look, one of the perks of having a platform is we sell a platform to multiple people. We do have, I think, checkpoints with customers to see how they've been using the platform. So I think, yeah, we've seen Oracle, we've seen SAP, we've seen all kinds of like CRM, Dynamics, CRM, Salesforce. So we have seen a lot of implementation regardless of the vendor when it comes to the commercial of the shelf, because we see low code, as I mentioned, is not going to replace ERPs and commercial of the shelf. It's going to complement. So you end up with a lot of let's say systems like commercial of the shelf systems, CRMs, ERPs, and the local platform is sitting on top, orchestrating everything, building experiences. And this is really important. Why? This is also de-risk our customers, because imagine that you want to move away from SAP, from Oracle, and if you customize and use workflows within the platform itself, it becomes very hard to move away. But if you build it in loosely coupled, this is I know a technology term, but if you build it in this top level and keep the ERPs, the CRMs as vanilla as possible, of course you are going to implement some workflows and processes in there because it makes sense to be there, but keep it as vanilla as possible. Then it becomes easier to move away, avoid vendor lock-in. So there is a lot of Oracle implementation, whether it's Fusion and retail. We have been done either directly using Nintex professional services or through our partner network.
Perfect. Seems like you may connect with this, with this gentleman, if he is interested, of course. So let me move on to the next question. So where do you start from the people training perspective outside from the AI capability team? Probably it's a general question aiming for the business teams, I suppose.
Look, as I mentioned again, training is being done in a different ways. There is when you lecture people, you get only a 10%. When you demo something to people, they see stuff in action, they retain more information, all of these things. But the most effective way of training is training by practice. The thing is, we have capability within Nintex we call it AI guided learning, which is you can record what you do on the screen using computer vision. This is, I would say, old AI, not generative and new AI. And then you can actually go and convert it into a knowledge base. And the people can actually go and say, how can I actually create a purchase order? And it doesn't actually require any integration with any system, because it looks at the screen itself, because it uses computer vision. As long as it can be shown on the screen, then the people can actually go and follow through. And if they are actually stuck, they can actually ask the assistant to do stuff on their behalf. So that's, I think, one of the most effective ways of training that we've seen is training by practice. The problem with training by practice, traditionally, it's very hard to scale. You need to have a separate environment, you need to have a classroom, and you need to have an instructor that's walking around and looking behind everybody, have you done it correctly or not? But this way, you can have an ever, I think, growing knowledge base that allows you to basically spread across, and people can do it at their own time. So that's from a training perspective as an efficiency. I'm not sure if this has answered the question or not, but
so the gentleman Trishan, if you want to have any follow-up, so you can just drop a message. So for the sake of time, let's move on with the next question, because we have too many questions, by the way. So the next one is about Nintex's integration with Copilot. Anything you want to provide about that?
Look, at the end of the day, like as I said before, Nintex is an open platform. We basically coexist with Microsoft in a lot of basically settings. So we do have Nintex actions that you can actually trigger from Copilot, which is, I think it's published. So I think it's been announced April at Build. So it's something that exists. But I need to understand exactly, maybe it's a specific use case. So I'll reach out to Muhammad and see what exactly he's looking for. Maybe I'm talking about something else. I'll get into that.
And the next one is also like it's a request for engagement with Nintex. Misbahul Hassan Sayed, he wants to engage with the Nintex team. So Amr, your colleagues can just take a note of this messages and they can connect right after. So let me move on. Currently, we have different automation tools. So how the transformation journey will take place with Nintex?
Okay, so look, we have been in a lot of situations that we have replaced existing automation tools. The one thing that I would do is the classical consulting exercise that you go in and see what you have built using these automation tools. Well, because most of the time I would say like 30% of the stuff that you've built is no longer used. And maybe you just need to retain the data. So you will have to do, I think the first step is a consulting exercise to review what you have implemented and to do a capability mapping. Because at the end of the day, there's no two tools that have like a one-to-one capability mapping. And think about not just moving away and migrating, think about redesigning and maybe re-platforming some of the tools that you have built into the new thing. The reason is you need to take advantage of the new platform. Again, Nintex or not Nintex, this is like, I think, basically a very abstract approach you can implement on anything. So you need to review what you have. You need to do a capability mapping from the source to the target. You need to only maybe rebuild the stuff that you're using, maybe retain the data for reporting purposes for the other stuff. As you mentioned, Malih, in your part, is it's okay to have multiple tools, but you need to have one common tool that actually connect all of these dots together, and then also look at the cost of running these tools. So again, part of the consolidating any tools, whether it's automation or not, looking at the roadmaps of all of these tools, the outlook for the future, how it's aligned with your organization roadmap as well, and requirements, and the cost of running all of these things, and most importantly, the risk of keeping these tools. Because if it's legacy tool, there is a risk associated, security risk associated of keeping them. And the other important aspect, I would say, the talent pool, because we have been into multiple organizations that they have old, maybe legacy automation tools that has very narrow talent pool in the market. So you are under a very, I think, a tremendous operation risk, because you have one guy, he understands this platform very well. If he leaves, if he retires, and I've been in a situation that people retiring and nobody's actually there to manage this. That was in Perth in Australia, like I think maybe 5 years ago. That was a very interesting, but for another day.
Perfect, perfect. No, that's very nice. So, we have 19 questions in total. We addressed some of them. So, I mean, thanks to our participants for staying here and asking these questions. Let's move on and address as many as we can. So the next one is about how can Nintex help optimize organizations' processes before implementing any tools, according to industry benchmarks.
Yeah. So look, talks about the first, let's say, phase of automation, which is understanding the current landscape. In the technology landscape, there is two different tools that does that: process mining and task mining. That helps accelerate this. There is going to be, of course, the sitting with the business user, understanding what the future would look like. So Nintex has a tool. It's part of a process manager platform that allows you to do something called screen capture. So you can capture what people have been doing and then converting these screenshots into tasks, and tasks into activities, and activities into processes. And then you can merge and manage these tasks, aligning together and understand the process from different perspectives. So task mining, I think it's easy to understand what the user is doing day in, day out. Process mining, which is we don't have a process mining tool in Nintex that does this on the back end, see how the systems integrate to each other and do this. So both together can give you the 360 view of what's happening now into your landscape. And this is from just a pure data collection perspective. It doesn't tell you what the future will look like, but it will tell you exactly how people are doing this stuff. And a very interesting part of the process capture is you can actually make an impact without actually following through the next stage of automation. Why? Imagine that you and me, Malih, doing purchase orders in using ERP. You do it in a way, and I do it in a different way. And if we basically capture the way that you're doing things and the way I'm doing things, it turns out you're doing it in maybe, I don't know, 3-4 minutes. I'm spending 10 minutes. By making sure that I do the process using the same technology, the same landscape, everything, the way that you're doing it, that will save 7 minutes for every purchase order. And we've done this in the past with customers. So even with just making sure that everybody follows the best practice within the organization allows you to realize gain without following through with the next phase of the automation, which is changing the way that you do purchase order, as an example.
Perfect, perfect. And the next one is, do you have any sample use cases implemented in the insurance industry? Amar, if you like, what you can do is you can give a quick answer now and you can follow up later, along with your
Look,
colleagues, if you like.
I know the time was not permitting me going through the use cases. I think one great thing about our platform is, and this is not just me because I work for Nintex, is it is not industry specific. So we have use cases across, you can say, every industry, almost in I would say maybe 60 to 70 different countries in the region. So yes. So the answer for if you remove insurance and put something else, I will confidently say yes. And then I'll have to maybe sit down with you and show you exactly the details when it comes to that. So AIG is I think is an example that we're working on now. There's a lot of other examples in the region as well.
Perfect, perfect. And the next question is your solution on-prem or cloud? I know the answer, but I'll leave it up to you to
Okay.
answer.
So Nintex solution in the, I'd say the identification, which is a process manager, is a cloud only solution. When it comes to orchestration, we offer two different solutions, which is an Nintex K2, which is an on-premises. You can actually host it. Actually, it comes in cloud PaaS or on-prem, and we have Nintex CE, which is the whole platform. That's a cloud only solution. So we offer both basically. Where we choose which solution fits you more, I think proper discovery, understanding your use case, who's going to use the system, the volume of transaction, all of these things we take in consideration to basically advise which platform is better for you at the end of the day.
Perfect, perfect. The next one is about what difference benefits compared to the native AI solutions. So probably the question is about the Nintex's platform, about how it's compared to AI solutions / platforms available in the organization. So yeah.
So we are not an AI platform. We use AI to optimize the journey of automation. So we use AI, as I mentioned, in the design, so it allows people to generate workflows, forms, experiences easier, integrations as well, so you can create integration using AI. We use AI in the runtime, so we go to option A or B, decisions within the workflows. We use AI also to assess the basically the data and get insights. So we're not an AI vendor. We're not going to compete with AI vendor because we're not an AI vendor. We use AI, whether infuse AI within our products or infuse your existing native AI solution within the process itself. So imagine a process that has a step that goes to whatever AI solution you have to execute something, which is sending a goal to an agent that lives outside of Nintex. We do have agentic that comes in the roadmap. So again, back to the point is Nintex is an open platform. We're not going to limit you to our agents. So you can bring your own AI, or you can use the AI within Nintex to achieve. So we're not an AI company. We are AI driven product, if it makes sense.
And an orchestrator also, optionally an orchestrator for example, AI agents or other AI solutions.
Indeed.
Perfect, perfect. And the next one is on your automation lifecycle with five steps, referring to your slide, I guess. Can you explain again the expectation for step 2, discover phase, at a high level?
Okay. So discover phase is, again, there is a change that you need to do. So the discovery is, what is the impact of this change? What I need to do to apply that change. So I think it's always the first part of any project implementation itself, to try to assess the impact of change, how I'm going to do the change, what is the tools, the people, everything that I need to do when it comes to the change. Sometimes you do a pilot or a POC during the discover to validate some of the things before you go full-fledged into the automation itself. So the discovery is all about understanding how you run your processes or your automation currently, and what is the challenges and what the future will look like. So that's a discovery in a nutshell.
Perfect, perfect. And for more details, you can engage with the gentleman. And the next one is how to check on our company readiness for automation and what is the suitable type.
Okay. I think this refers maybe to the 3 traditional AI infused agentic. I think I've mentioned this before, maturity of the company itself, the tools that you have internally, the people that you have also. So I wouldn't expect people to go and do full-fledged agentic without having the right skill set internally to manage this, or at least the choice of the agentic platform. So imagine that you don't have a choice of what should be your agentic platform and you want to implement that. And I think we talked also about the security concerns for each approach itself. When it comes to traditional approach, it comes with the lowest security option. Again, I don't want to talk about the deprecated software. If you're running deprecated software, if you're not using best practices, this is always opens you for security concerns. So I'm not going to talk about that. I'm talking about the maturity of the security controls or governance across different types. I think the agentic comes with the lowest, but the important thing here, it's everything is on the rise exponentially. As we speak, I don't know, like in the last couple of weeks, there is a lot of announcement, a lot of new governance platform that's comes in, and we have a lot of features also being added to our platform to help with that end-to-end automation, regardless of your type.
Perfect, Amar. Amar, I'm getting a feedback from the backstage saying that, we have to stop now for the
Okay.
sake of time. So I would like to thank all the participants. Your questions are not going to go unnoticed. You're going to receive a response from them, either from IDC or Nintex, depending on who is responsible for that question. Thank you a lot for this engagement. It's always great to learn from each other. We learned something from you about your challenges and priorities and so on and so forth. We hope we managed to share some insights with you. Please enjoy the info brief. Please engage with Nintex. It's a great team in the region, and I hope you're going to have a great journey with them. So I would like to thank you all. Amar, any final words before we close the call?
No, look, I think I'm looking forward to continue the conversation with everybody ask a question or people who don't even have the time to ask questions. We are here to continue the conversation. This is just a conversation starter. This is again our perspective, sometimes maybe some part of it our my personal perspective on things. But I'm happy to have more conversation, learn from you guys, and take this to the next level.
Perfect. Thank you everyone for participating in, and we are looking forward to many other discussions. Thank you. Have a great day.